of Carlos Alcaraz and Yannick Sinner, I haven't seen anybody that is very, very ready, to stand or maintain some level of consistency that probably may want to say, yeah, the person have the potential to, win maybe 20 Grand Slam, 21 or even 24. I think it's going to be very difficult.
Very difficult for the next generation of tennis players that will maintain consistency, but let's keep our fingers crossed and see how Yannick Sinner continues to perform. He's won 2 Grand Slam this year, and of course getting another winner in a 100,000 event. Let's see whether he will win the season-ending championship and then announce himself for that level of consistency which we demand from young players in tennis. Like we mentioned there, none of them is coming close at all to at least 5-6 Grand Slam in a year before the fade off. We've seen legendary Novak Djokovic win as many as 24 Grand Slams, and of course that's the measure when you talk of no other male we've seen with that number apart from Court with a little bit more, I say more than Novak Djokovic. The era where you have the likes of Serena Williams winning as many too, there was consistency, but these days we are not seeing tennis players, both male and female, become very consistent. Not even the Iga Swiatek is that consistent, if you want to say.
Yeah, not even Iga Swiatek is that consistent. But then we want to say that she has done her best, but she's not that consistent. Whenever you expect her to hit that peak where she will say, okay, we are going to see maybe the last Serena sisters where they were able to show that consistency. Even Naomi Osaka during her 8 days where she was still very much active. But these days, you talk about Iga Swiatek, that consistency is not there. Arina Zabalenka, that consistency is not there. Coco Gauff, the consistency is not there. Our own Onjabua, the consistency. So for me, I think it's just very, very difficult for this new gem to also replicate the form we saw in the past. I don't know, maybe the passion is dying, or I may want to say, I don't know, but then I think we've seen it that it's very clear that the consistency from these young gens is not there, and I don't see them hitting the peak where we see, them replicating the so much excitement that we see in the eras of the Williams sister, the Naomi Osaka, and the rest of the big name players that have been very consistent in the past.
I think that's the most I take on this half of the show. When we return back, I will just make a recap on our tennis players are trying to be consistent or not, and we'll bring you some more exciting wall of boxing stories coming up. Don't forget, football is coming as well. Super Eagles of Nigeria have a crucial tie against their counterparts from Libya tomorrow, but they've had a torrid time at the airport. Some experience you don't expect should be happening in modern times here in Africa. When we return from a break, we'll serve you with those details. Stay with us.
From the lines across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains, through the Sahara, we bring all the sport news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, socio-economic, sports, and documentaries. So catch all the updates on the happenings around the globe. Stay focused on the fact today, only on ATN.
A sports talk here on Atlantic Television Network, and Mike is here, and together we'll bring you up to speed with the latest happening around the world of sports. We told you how Kenyans are making inroads, continue to win at the international event. That's the marathon event out there in Chicago, United States of America. And we told you as well how it is important to see a Nigerian at the Chicago Marathon. This is sharing and product of the Okpukpe race, going all the way to the United States of America, you know, to make an impact in the marathon event. Beyond that, we equally told you how Yanisina has won his 7th title in the year 2024, winning ATP 1000 event out there in Shanghai. And not forgetting how Arina Sabalenka as well became there's a 3-time winner, consecutive winner at the Wuhan Open in China, praising the effort of Xing, who became the very first Chinese to play in a 1000 event. Time for us now to look at boxing. Mike, rematch between the International Boxing Federation World Heavyweight Champion Daniel Dubois and of course former 2-time heavyweight champion Anthony Joshua appears to be closer, but can this really see the light of the day?
Yeah, from the news or statement that we are hearing from the Saudi organizers, I think it's looking likely, you know, because over the weekend they had a fight and the Saudi organizers, the spokesman came up to make some you know, statement that allude to the fact that indeed the Saudi Arabia authority are about to witness another big fight out there. So for me, it's looking likely. But then I still think the ball is on the court of Daniel Dubois to accept the offer if Joshua's camp makes the proposal. If the money is okay with Daniel Dubois, then we may possibly see that rematch come alive in January as it is right now. So if there's anything to go by from different sources that we are following, I think, yeah, it's looking likely that that rematch may, you know, see the light of the day.
Well, let's hope that this match will see the light of the day. We saw that he lost out last time before 98,000 fans in England. It looks like England doesn't seem to favor him. It looks like he's won most of his fights in Saudi Arabia. And maybe return to Saudi Arabia by seeing Nigerian English player, boxer, Anthony Joshua, overpower his opponent, Dubois. If you remember how he beat Anthony Joshua many times on the canvas in the last match.
Yeah, I think for me, I don't want to believe maybe that the Wembley Stadium is not a good ground for Anthony Joshua. Wembley Stadium is one of the good grounds for Anthony Joshua. It's just that it didn't work out for him this time around. You know, the Wembley Stadium is a very familiar ground. Then the Saudi as well is also a very favorable ground for Anthony Joshua. But then even if the Saudi ground is favorable for Anthony Joshua, he did not prepare very well for this very one. You don't just expect that favorable ground to work for his favor. He needs to also put himself in a proper shape and ready to go before the ground will be actually favorable for him. So for me, I think it just boils down to Anthony Joshua, what he wants. If he actually goes back into his clothes and work very hard and ready for this very one, make the bid and, bring out, maybe chunks of money that is going to attract Daniel Dubois to accepting the rematch, then it will be good for him. But then, if you take it to the Saudi, I think it is also a good ground for Anthony Joshua, where he has also recorded some success in the past.
Let's go to football now. We'll start with the female football. We are leading Nigerian women football league side, Edo Queens, Heartland Queens as well. Not forgetting Nasarawa. We slug it out today in the semi-final of matches against their neighbors at the ongoing Bessie Obaseki Women Football Tournament. With the league just yet to start, the Bessie Obaseki Football Tournament is like a pre-season competition for top female sides here in Nigeria. Which of these teams do you think can just make it this time around at the tournament? Is it going to be host Edo Queens or maybe Abia Angels?
I think for me, take a look at the result and the performances of teams so far. I think Edo Queen has shown that class, in this year's Petty Obaseki preseason tournament, bashing their opponent of 4-1, of 4-0. I mean, for me, they seems to be the team to beat this time around. And from what I've gathered so far, I think they are even extra motivated, to win this very one. So it's looking likely that Edo Queen might be crowned a champion, but then it is too early call to make because they still have maybe 2 obstacles to cross as it is. But then you take a look at their record, they're in a prime position, to make this one count.
Semi-final fixture coming up about 10 a.m., just about 2 hours or so from now. And the Bayelsa Queens will have to contend with Heartland Queens in one of the semi-final fixtures. We had some foreign teams take part in this tournament. None of them are able to make it to the semi-finals.
Yeah, and it is not surprising for me. It clearly shows the quality between the Nigerian female football teams and other teams right here in Africa. Teams coming from Ghana and even Benin Republic. None of them were able to make it to the quarterfinal, and they were bashed, in their opening and second games as well. So for me, it clearly tells you of the gulf in class between the Nigerian female football quality and that of their, neighboring state, talking about Benin Republic and Ghana. So for me, I think it is not surprising because we have better players right here in the women football league compared to Ghana and the Benin Republic.
Well, we wish the teams ongoing tournament of the Best Obaseki football tournament the very best of luck. But if you're a follower of female football here in Nigeria, you want to ask, where is Rivers Angels in the mix for this year's Obaseki Cup competition?
Yeah, Rivers Angels, they were not a part and parcel of this year's edition. And I think for me, the reason for them, being excluded, I don't actually know because I have not gotten any proper information to guide me on that. But then the truth is that the Rivers Angels, they are not part and parcel of this year's edition.
We'll keep our fingers crossed on that, and I'm very sure in the days ahead we'll be able to talk to Ministry of Sports officials on why Rivers Angels is not part of this year's tournament. They've often done well in the tournament, of course, reserved for top teams, female football club side here in Nigeria. And when you mention top female football club side, Rivers Angels definitely is in the mix where there is a Edo Queens and a Bayelsa Queens. Let's now go to male football. And talking about male football, there were actions in the Nigerian Premier Football League match day 6 at the weekend. Mike, Abia Warriors were 1 goal better than their opponents at the weekend. Kwara United beaten by 1 goal by Mama Mapakabo.
I think they truly deserve this one. They haven't won a game so far this season. I think they needed all 3 points, to at least, be able to pull themselves out of that relegation zone that they they are hovering as it is right now. So getting all 3 points of the season, I think it was an impressive one for them. Though we want to say it was a slim victory, but then what counts is the 3 points. It doesn't matter whether it is 1 goal or 2 goals. What matters is that they were able to take all 3 points.
Bayelsa United were able to get all 3 points at the Samson Siasia Stadium in Yenugua. Mike, it's been difficult for them to record wins, but this was had one victory for Bayelsa United over their counterparts from Plateau. That's Plateau United.
Yeah, for Bayelsa United, it wasn't a good way to start the season. Don't also forget last season they actually struggled as well, to at least make top 10. This time around, not starting on a good note, but then I think this time around they knew that if they get all 3 points, it's going to help lift them and also boost the confidence of the players. So for me, I think it was a good result for them.
But 3 matches were drawn at the weekend, and they all ended goalless. One of the goalless fixtures we saw at the weekend was Academy Warriors against their counterparts from Owerri. Hadland FC of Owerri getting an away win, an away draw there against Academy Warriors.
I think for me it was a great one. Last week they recorded their first win of the season. And this time around, going away to pick a very valuable point, I think it's a good one for Heartland of Owerri, who have also not been in a very fine shape so far this season under their new coach. But then I think it is a great one to go away and pick a point, a very, very good one for them. Let's hope that they can be able to build up from this going forward.
Heartland picked away out there against Academy. Enyimba International as well picked a valuable away point against their traditional rivals. Shooting Stars of Ibadan. In Ibadan, Enyimba was able to return home with the points.
Yeah, a very good one for Enyimba, but for the Oluyole Warriors, you want to say, not a good outing for them, especially playing in front of their home fans who recorded some handful of the fans.
There was no goals. It's called in this fixture.
Yeah, a goalless draw ended. I mean, the issue of goal drought in the Nigerian Premier Football League is something that we have become used to. You find it difficult for a team to go and score maybe 5-3, 4-2, having much goals in such some matches. I think it's been very difficult. It was a barren draw, but then I think it's a good point for Enyimbas.
Talking about barren draw, it's exactly what happened in the encounter in Katsina, where Rivers United traveled to, and of course were able to force their neighbors to a goalless draw and return home with a valuable point. Finidi George not lost so far after 6 matches in the Premier League year for 2024-2025 football season.
Yeah, I think it was a good one for Finidi George and Rivers United. Having not lost again, they still remain the only team who have not lost a game so far this season. But then they would have done better by getting all 3 points. We've seen teams this season going away to get all 3 points. It would have been a very good out if they had gotten all 3 points to at least maintain the top of the log where they find themselves. But courtesy of that draw, I think Remo Stars have toppled them in the league as it is right now.
Aqua United playing at the Gospel of Fabio Stadium beat Kano Pillars by 2-0.
It was a surprising result for me. Why? Because Aqua United haven't been in a good form so far this season. Then you talk about Kano Pillars that was also boosted with the likes of Ahmed Musa and the other former international out there. You expect them to do better, and then again they have Rabi Ali, one of the iconic NPFL player in their rank as well. Coming to you expect them to fight so hard, at least to get even a point against Aqua United. Have not been informed this season, but then I think it was a statement of intent from Baba Ganaru because the pressure is mounting against him. I listened to some Aqua United followers in one platform where some of them are beginning to call for the sack of Baba Ganaru so early. So I think this 3 points will help to calm the situation.
Talking about a team that's informed this season, Remo Stars, they beat their opponents from Nasarawa by 3 on-reply goals. This is Nasarawa Stars, that's it, Remo Stars doing well against Nasarawa FC.
Yeah, for Remo Stars, I think they are showing that indeed they are a force to be reckoned with so far this season. You saw how they fought so hard last season as well, but this time around they continue to show that indeed they have the quality that it takes to compete or challenge for the title against some of the big name teams, some of the traditional teams like Enugu Rangers, Enyimba, Rivers United, even Kano Pillars. So for me, I think for Remo Stars, I still remain one of the best sides right here in the Nigeria Premier Football League. And they talk about the organizational structure. As a private club, I think they are doing pretty well. Take a look at their stadium as one of the best, though not have, it has not met CAF approved standard. But then when you talk about the quality of pitches right here in the Nigeria Premier Football League, yeah, you give it to Remo Stars. So they are doing very well.
Match day 6 concluded the Nigerian Premier League. We saw 4 home wins and no doubt just one score draw with 3 goalless draw recorded at match day 6. No away win at match day 6. We're looking forward to seeing away wins here in the Premier League in Nigeria. Let's go national now. The Super Eagles of Nigeria, after beating Libya by 1-0 at Godswill Akpabio Stadium about 48 hours ago, had to return for the fixture coming up tomorrow. But it's been 8 hours of delay at the airport. We understand the team went on a charter flight that was supposed to take them to Benghazi. 1 hour into the flight, they were turned to Al-Bad, another city in Libya, and they were expected to travel for about 3 hours by road from there, but they spent almost 8 hours at the airport. Mike, this is becoming troublesome. We hear there were complaints about the team too delayed here in Nigeria when they came. We understand they came by charter flight rather than fly straight to Uyo. They arrived Port Harcourt and spent time, getting clearance from the immigration officials and travel by road from Port Harcourt to Uyo. And it looks like the Libyans, in their own way, are having to suffer the Super Eagles players for what looks like their own mistake, because we were told by the NFF officials that there was no communication between them, that they were going to land in Port Harcourt rather than go straight to Uyo.
Yeah, I think for me it is more like a payback time for the Libyans. It is a very dirty antics and tactics deployed by them to, frustrate, the Super Eagles out there. The reason for the flight diversion is yet unknown, because you can't tell me that a flight was built from here down to Benghazi, the second largest city in Libya, was actually suddenly diverted to another city. I think for me, it was a ploy deployed by the Libyan Federation Authority, to frustrate the effort of the Super Eagles, to make sure that they are destabilized ahead of that game, because I think for me there was no reason for the diversion of that plane, because there was no fault according from report that were here. So for me, I think it's not a good one at all. But then I still think that the Super Eagles, despite the delay and the challenges, they still have what it takes to go out there and get all 3 points.
It's even more demeaning the fact that after they were even given clearance, they refused to open the gates for the team to travel by their own arrangement from Al-Bad to the venue of the encounter. I think the Confederation of African Football needs to step into this issue, because it's becoming well-known antics of North African sides to delay their opponents when they come to play against them in their country, and it's now becoming frequent that these incidents happen. Teams should not suffer any logistic problems on their way to honoring fixtures in African football.
Yeah, just like you said, for me, I think it is becoming unbecoming for the North African teams out there. All these dirty antics in order to score cheap points out there, it doesn't really help for the development or improvement of the game as it is. I think CAF also need to wade in to caution some of the national team against some of these dirty antics out there. I mean, there was no need of such antics. If you are not good, you are not good. If you don't have the class to square off against your opponent, you don't have it, despite the antics you are trying to deploy. So I think it is high time, just like you said, that CAF steps in and find a way to caution team, and probably place a fine that if any team comes to your town to play a game and they try to deploy such antics unnecessarily to delay your opponent, then the hammer of CAF should also come against such teams.
Well, Nigeria's Super Eagles take on the counterparts, the Mediterranean Knights of Libya, tomorrow in African Cup of Nations qualifier for 2025. Meanwhile, the Super Eagles lead after winning Just 3 games so far at the qualifiers. And just before we bring you results, some matches that were played at the African Cup of Nations fixtures at the weekend. There's some sad news in dressing Nigeria and African football. Former Green Eagles goalkeeper Peter Fregene, we understand, has passed on. This is really, really sad. Fregene, in the course of the week, was revealed to have suffered some ailment that put him in ICU, and now he's passed on. Peter Fregene, Super Eagles goalkeeper in the past.
Yeah, of course, you can't also forget his contribution to the development of football right here in the country. He was one of the famous name in the 1960s and in the 70s. He was very regular for the Green Eagle then, as it were then called. Paid his dues as well. I think for me, we are going to miss him in the world of football, not just here in Nigeria, but Africa and the world as large, for the contribution that he has made for football growth right here in the country. We pray that God grant the family the fortitude to bear the irreparable loss.
Well, Ahasa with the family at this time, and like he mentioned there, the good Lord will sustain his family that he has left behind. Now, let's look at the qualifiers for the African Cup of Nations. And for 2025, we understand Burkina Faso is the very first country to qualify beside the host nation, Morocco. They beat Burundi by 2-0 away last night.
Statement of intent from Burkina Faso, especially in the last African Cup of Nations, they didn't do quite well. They were knocked out of round of the 16. This time around, being the first African country to qualify for the 2025 AFCON, I think for me, it shows that they are ready, and they were able to work on their lapses last time out, and they've actually cemented themselves as one of the first teams to qualify for the 2025. And that is what I expect big name teams like the Super Eagles to be doing, winning all your 4 games and qualify comfortably and allow maybe the rest of few games to be used as maybe jamboree. That is where you give opportunity to other fringe players as well to do some test run as well. But then for Burkina Faso, I think it's a big congratulations for them.
Let's quickly go to Europe, and in Europe, Nations League matches were played as well. We saw England beat Finland by 3-1.
Yeah, expectedly, after losing their last game against Greece at the Wembley Stadium, we expect them to bounce back in such a fashion out there. And I think for me, the tactics of the interim manager, Lee Castley, actually paid off, and I want to say it's a big boost for England.
Austria watched Norway by 5-1. What in the margin? 6-goal thriller in the fixture.
Very surprising. I actually followed up with that game. I watched the game, especially the first half out there. They took the first lead before Norway actually equalized, and it looked likely that it was going to be more like a keenly contested encounter. But then I think they did not hold their own. They were made a light work, and it ended 5-1. What a devastating defeat. You saw the disappointment in the eyes of their striker out there, talking about Elite Brut Haaland, who couldn't find the back of the net. Disappointing outing for Norway.
Very disappointing outing for Norway. We saw Spain as well win at the weekend, but the biggest, report occurring for the Nations League is the fact that Cristiano Ronaldo has scored his 133rd goal in the Portugal's Nations Cup League win over Poland.
Yeah, I think for Cristiano Ronaldo, he continued to set record for himself out there and continue to keep football followers on their toes. I think the man have paid his dues, and he continued to pay his dues out there, scoring the second goal in Portugal's win. I think it was iconic goal, and he actually did it's a traditional shoe celebration. So far, I think it's a big one and a big lift for Portugal in their quest to qualify for the UEFA Nations League.
Portugal beat Poland by 3-1, and there was an away victory there for Cristiano Ronaldo and Portugal. Well, we have to begin to wrap up the show now. Definitely we'll be back at 6 p.m. Nigerian time for Sports Extraordinary, when we'll bring you results of all of the matches that were played at the weekend in Africa here in the bid to qualify for the 2025 African Cup of Nations, and of course review of some key matches that took place in Europe as well. The Nations League is going. Remember, it was an international weekend, and matches will be concluded by tomorrow in Africa and across Europe as well. So we'll really give you insight to all that happened on our program Sports Extraordinary at 6 p.m. Nigerian time here on Atlantic Television Network. Until then, remember, peace and unity are clearly pathways to progress. Always enjoy here on Atlantic Television Network.
From the lines across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains, through the Sahara, we bring all the sport news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, socio-economic, sports, and documentaries. So catch all the updates on the happenings around the globe. Stay focused on the fact today, only on ATN. From the lines across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains, through the Sahara, we bring all the sport news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, socio-economic, sports, and documentaries. So catch all the updates.